started dabbling around in things, and I posted them on social media, and the reaction was so good, and people would say, "Are you selling this?" And I just kept saying yes.
Lynne McDonald is an international, award-winning, juried abstract artist. But she wasn't always an artist. This reinvention of hers happened around the age of 50. Now, as a single mom, she is rocking the art world for her next chapter. Lynn, welcome to We're Not Dead Yet.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me, what was life like before you were an artist? What'd you get a degree in?
Psychology.
But you weren't a psychologist.
No, I didn't even make it, no. I used to be in the corporate world. I was a producer for 3D animation for a little bit. And then I was in high-tech startups. So I would start one and launch a product or a business. And then I'd go to the next one and launch that over and over.
Exciting.
This was in Silicon Valley and in Atlanta.
Exciting. You were not a painter. You told me a story about how you got tested as a child, as many of us did. I was told I was musical when I was a child.
And that sent you in that direction, right?
Yeah.
Well, when I was in kindergarten, my kindergarten teacher went to my mom and said she has an ability here. She's got something here with art.
Right.
And my mom probably thinking that she wanted my brother and sister to have a more well-rounded education, she stuck them in art classes.
Because you didn't need it.
I didn't need it, I guess, right.
Right.
So, and she was more focused on me being successful academically in other areas.
Sure. Tell me about the journey into your art world.
I did not know anything about, it wasn't valued in my family. So if I did have any innate talent or abilities, it was never explored. It wasn't until 2005, I was reading a book that was talking about inspiration and how you need to run with whatever you're given because it's a gift, and then you get more. And so I kept on seeing this image in my mind and thinking, I'm not an artist, I don't know what to do with this. And so I would look for it places and I never saw it. So finally, about 9 months later, I saw somebody else's work, and I thought, I could do that, which is so silly, right? So I went to the art supply store and I got one big canvas. I didn't start small and dabble, I just went for the big one. And I just got 3 things of paint and 1 paintbrush. Went home, stuck it on my wall in the kitchen, didn't even have an easel, and painted this painting, and that was it. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. I'm just gonna hang this on my wall, and that's it. And then it was...
I've done art.
Yeah, I've done art. I didn't think I was an artist, but I thought, this is good in that space, and I can say I did it, and I'm gonna move on to something else. I don't wanna fail.
Yeah.
And so I ended up moving to Montreal, and then it was about 5 years later that we came back, and I started getting more of this image, this inspiration. And so I thought, do I want to risk it? Because I've already got the one. Do I want to risk it? Maybe I'll just quietly do this thing over here. And then I went smaller, and I started dabbling around in things, and I posted them on social media, and the reaction was so good, and people would say, "Are you selling this?" And I just kept saying yes. I just kept saying yes when somebody said, "I want to commission you." I kept on saying yes when they said, "Can you do this? You want to be in our gallery? Do you sell to Qatar?" I was just like, yes. And then with faith, I just kept moving forward.
You have something fun planned for us to do together today. Tell me about what we're gonna do.
And one of the things that I offer is a first impression piece. And what this is basically a portrait in abstract of the subject. So if you came to me and you said, "Lynn, I want to do a first impression piece," I would sit down with you, get to know you a little bit, and ask you some questions, and then I would be inspired by that, go sit with that a minute, and then put it onto canvas. Yes.
What a fun idea.
So it's completely abstract, so you can do it too.
Right. Oh, so I'm going to paint you.
You're going to paint me.
Oh my gosh. I don't know about that.
Wait, I'll help you. First of all, we need to figure out the palette.
Okay.
When you're thinking about somebody and is representing me, when you're thinking about the energy that I'm giving you,
I definitely feel warm colors from
and then
you.
let's talk about the cool colors too,
The
because
fiery and
yeah. So that's energy. Reds are
Yes,
energy, and
you're fiery and fierce. Okay.
so of these colors, which direction do you want to go, and then I can pull some more.
I want to go, I'd say magenta.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay. And then
it's got some fire, but it's also very feminine.
yeah. So for our main, let's just go with 2, maybe 3 colors. So we got black and white as our base.
Mhm.
So, and we've got the magenta.
What color is Prussian blue?
It's a beautiful, let's go with Prussian blue.
Okay, let's go with Prussian.
Okay, so this is a turquoise. We'll keep that on the ready just in case we get.
Okay. So how did becoming a single mom and what you went through with divorce play a role in your seeking a reinvention?
Everything. It wasn't just divorce. It was moving out of the country and being dependent on somebody and having an identity before that. Because I was an adult. You know, I'm in my 40s when I had when I got married. I actually had Marshall first. So so coming back here, and my ex-husband moved out of the state. So I really couldn't get into the job that I was doing before because I couldn't travel. So I had this thing where I was doing art, but I was also doing marketing for this people. I was doing some copywriting for these, and I kept
Freelancing.
I was filling up the need for financial stability, and I just had this extra. So I was scared.
Yeah.
You know, it's very scary when you have a little boy looking at you going, okay, you know, I gotta be to school at this time, like, you gotta pick me up at this time, and you gotta bring home the bacon. So
Exactly. How long would you say it took till it became life-sustaining?
at the beginning of the pandemic, so 2019, I have some girlfriends, and they're kind of my tribe, my support, you know, and I sat down with them and we had a strategy session. There was about 5 of us, and now it's become an annual thing. And I said, you know, I'm doing this health coaching and I'm doing the right, you know, all these things, and they said, stop with the madness, just focus on art. And I said, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, and I leapt. And so I had, in the beginning, January of 2020, right when things were starting to happen, I had the whole year booked up with shows. I had a plan. I was scared, so I was like, I'm going to do this thing 100%.
Right.
And then come March, everything shut down. I had to cancel everything.
Oh no.
I'm diabetic, so it was that much more important. And so I brought my son home, and we were at home. And then it shifted to doing live shows. And I'm so grateful for how it all turned out.
So it became, that year, you didn't starve.
After you left. That's the thing, is like, the universe gives you these gifts. And if you don't act on it, then you're not living to your full potential. And you're not rewarded to your full potential.
Interesting.
So I was doing all these other things, thinking that I'm going to be control of my life, and I'm going to have these avenues where I can have financial stability and be in control of my
Being in control.
Well, you make plans and God laughs.
Exactly.
So I decided to let go and go for it. You know, that's part of it, is that I've had this support that I hadn't had before.
It's so interesting to me how many of the women I interview, their transformation is born out of the support of their women friends.
Oh, so
the
important.
encouragement and or motivation,
Right.
or role models, because they're already living their best life and living
Absolutely.
to their potential.
Right. Well, Betty White, she just died, and she was such an inspiration to so many people to live her next chapter in a way that had never been thought of before.
Right.
I mean, our life expectancy is longer. So you can't just sit back at 50 and think, okay, I'm going to close the book.
Hang it up!
Sit on the couch. It's like you're going to sit on the couch for 30 years? No. You got more to do. And I have so much more to express.
countries that you have clients in.
It's been an amazing ride because I have a collector in Qatar that has maybe 7 or 8. I've got Curacao, Canada, like Hawaii, California, Phoenix, a lot of the states.
Right.
But Greece is probably the furthest. Cheers.
Cheers. I have a friend who posted on Facebook recently about holidays being over and needing to go back to work and how she just hated what she does. She's a single mom like you, and she was saying she's locked in financially to what she's doing, and she said my advice to young people is do what you love, because when you get my age it's too late. That's what I'm trying to change, that mindset, and you're such a perfect example.
I think that change comes when there's conflict or pressure, and she's just feeling the pressure. The pressure is what's uncomfortable, and when you get to a point where it's so uncomfortable that you have to make a change, you have to jump off the cliff. There's a great poem that, and I won't get this right, but it says they come to the edge, and how's it go? Come to the edge. I'm scared. I don't want to. Come to the edge. No, I'm scared. And then the third time it says, so they went to the edge, and then they pushed, and then I flew. And I really butchered that. You get the idea. But
no, but did you feel? I mean, there was a time where you felt locked in, trapped.
I did
financially.
So over and over again, I felt trapped, and it wasn't until having to change. I had to make a change because when I came back from Montreal, I could not go back into what I did before. First of all, the industry had totally changed. But then I was also traveling before, and I couldn't travel with my son here because my ex was out of town.
Sure.
So it was somewhat born out of necessity. But I was thinking, I'll do 5 things. I'll be copywriting for this, and then I'll be doing marketing for this company, and it was still high-tech companies, but I really hated it. Here's what I loved about it. And I kept on falling into this niche because I was creative, and I always thought outside the box. And so people were rewarding me for that. And so it sent me into marketing and launching strategy, ideas. I am good with ideas. I'm an idea person. And so idea people tend to be problem solvers.
Yes.
So I would be in that role over and over again. But then when the grind would start and that 9 to 5 go to the office would creep in, I'd be totally depressed. I absolutely hated it. It needed to be, I had a new challenge every day.
Exciting.
And I was moving, and I was out of the office and that kind of thing. So now I get to explore that side of me that I didn't ever value. My parents didn't value. My support system didn't value because I was in technology. As I said before, it's letting go and going for it. And you know how hard I work at this.
Of course.
I make probably less money than I ever did before, but I'm happier because everything's mine. It's my creativity.
Yeah.
And I'm happy.
Yeah.
That is richer than anything that I had before.
Yeah.
When I was lying in bed so miserable because I didn't want to go into work. But having a child also and having him look at me and me fulfilling my potential and him watching me work hard and go for it and just really go for it. That's the thing. Is like
that's what
the courage.
We hope our children will do.
Right.
And who did they learn from?
Right. I want to lead by example. You don't have to. Find what it is that you are good at and monetize that.
Yeah. So speaking of value, I saw you say something in a post recently where you talked about not devaluing your work in the future. Like I think it was a New Year's resolution of sorts.
Right.
That struck me because women in business, women everywhere, right? It's chronic that we undervalue ourselves and our work and our worth.
Imposter syndrome for women is much more common than for men. And also, you know, coming back from being a mom and stepping back into the workforce is difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult for women after they've been out of work for 8, 9 years, 2 years, whatever, and stepping back in at a deficit. And you're always thinking about your child. Am I a good mom? Men don't get that scrutiny. So I think that all of these can make you think that you're not as worthy of the higher paycheck as that guy. And here's another thing. Male artists get paid more.
Because, you know,
Because they
why?
ask. Because they
I
ask.
know, right?
They ask.
That's the thing. It's the classic. So what was the aha moment for you? What made you stand up and say, dang it?
Well, I have said it over and over.
You have to keep telling yourself.
Right. Gotta do it this time. So I think it's very easy, especially when you work for yourself, if something isn't happening with a certain timeline, it's very easy to go, oh, I need to drop my rates. And it could be that you just didn't get out there enough, that you didn't show your work enough, that this person that felt something that the owner hasn't seen it yet. So I don't think an artist should drop their prices. I think it's important to know where your price is, but don't drop your prices because it lowers your value. It lowers the value of the person buying it.
I think this piece is amazing, and earlier you told me it's one of your earlier pieces.
This one's called Fierce, and it was really a jumping off point for me because I hadn't done this large before, and you can see the energy that was going on with me. It was like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing. But the interesting thing about this piece is that I put it on my wall and I didn't show it. I think I eked it out there a few times maybe, but I was really unsure of myself, and I was also growing attached to it. It was on my wall, and it's like a piece of you. Each one is a piece of you. So I got to spend some time with Jonas Gerard before he died, and he gave me a lot of inspiration and advice. And one of the things I asked him was, what do you do when you become attached to a piece? And he said, you price it accordingly.
Now, your real studio is up here too, right?
Yes.
Can we see?
Yes. It's very messy. Just plastic in
Where the magic happens. You know what I love about this the most is that we find so many excuses for why we can't try something or do something or go to that edge. I don't have the money to start that. I don't have the space to start that. And here we are, ceiling fan and all, in just a small extra bedroom.
Right.
And it is a studio where art is created that goes around the world.
I don't think any of that should stop you from from following your heart.
Right.
Or your skills, or whatever that is.
If you can become a world-renowned artist in a spare bedroom, gee, what could we possibly do?
Right.
And speaking of living your best life after 40 or 50, I see.
Yeah,
I'd forgotten. You were on the cover of a magazine.
Yeah, that was such a gift. What a wonderful experience this was. This was at a period of my life where I felt very small and insecure, and I had no idea what I was getting involved in, and a friend of mine nominated me, and it was just one of the best experiences. It gained so much confidence, and I met the most amazing people through it. It's just been a wonderful journey.
And you weren't just over 40.
I was turning 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were the winner.
Yeah.
And got on the cover of a magazine. How far out of your comfort zone was that?
It was so out of my comfort zone. I was so scared of public speaking that I have quit my job for it.
Oh.
And now one of my best friends is a producer, and she's like, go. So I've learned a lot to let go of that fear. And something that I've been contemplating a lot lately is, why are we here? I don't know if this is something that happens at a certain age, or if it's just that, what the pandemic has taught me is that, why are we here? And this is such a gift. And so my whole experience, my living in the past few years has been, screw it. Do whatever you want. And I care so much less about what people think.
Yeah.
Also, is since I care less about what they think, they get no energy. And so I have these people surrounding me now that are supportive. And if they're not around me.
Right.
It's been a beautiful experience. This and just, realizing that this life is such a gift.
Yeah, it is. Here's to that.
Mm-hmm.